Hi everyone, and welcome back to this week's Makeup and Catch Up. I'm so excited to be back and to share my makeup with you guys and the look that I created and catch you up on what I've been up to and what's been going on with me. So to start out, for the look that I created today, I went ahead and started with the brows. I always start with cleaning up under the brows because it's an easy transition into prepping the eyelids for eyeshadow, because I like to do eyeshadow first just in case it gets messy or you have fallout or things of that nature. So I don't have to be too neat if I do eyes first. So that's why I like to do brow prep and eyeshadow first. So this past week has been pretty uneventful for me, I would say. I've just kind of been doing my normal regular routine, trying to stay consistent and do things that bring me joy, make me happy, and are beneficial to myself and my family and those that are connected to me. So when I say that, I mean things such as I've been studying my real estate course. I'm almost done with that, so I'm excited about that. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that. I've been really reassessing my eating habits and making sure that I am a mindful eater and paying attention to what I'm consuming, how much of the things that I'm eating I'm consuming, and making sure that I stay moving, that I'm exercising, that I'm walking, that I'm doing something that benefits me mentally and physically. So that's really been the gist of what I've been doing like the last week or so. So if we take a look at the makeup, I've already primed my face, and so basically what I'm doing here is I'm setting my makeup down with some loose setting powder because I have oily combination skin, so it just allows for better wear. You know, I'm a person who likes to do my makeup one time that day and then be done. Maybe I'll blot a little bit and do a little bit of touching up, but for the most part, if I've done my makeup, it's done for the day. I'm not taking it off. I'm not starting again. It's just too much work. So I do it, I make sure it looks good, and that's the look for the day. Okay. So for my eye base, I am a concealer girl. I tried like various like eyeshadow primers and bases before, and maybe I was doing something wrong. It had to be user error, which would be me, but I just could never really get them to do what I needed them to do from my learning curve of learning how to apply eyeshadow. So with that being said, I like a matte or a soft matte concealer because they kind of dry down on their own. I used to set my concealer with powder, but not anymore. I just go ahead and use a matte concealer or a soft matte concealer, and then the eyeshadow just glides on like butter, and I get great color payoff, and it also kind of covers up my veins and stuff that are on my eyelids. So that's just a preference of mine and how I prep my eyes to apply eyeshadow. Now for this particular look, it's a little more cool toned and not so warm as the past two looks that I did thus far. And I wanted to do like a halo eye. I used to do those all the time. Like, I don't know if it has something to do with just it's aesthetically pleasing to me, or maybe it's because of my eye shape that it's really appealing to me. I just really like the look of a halo eye. I always have. I don't think they'll ever get old to me. So that's what I wanted to create it. I started with a crease shade, and then as you see, I'll go ahead and add some dimension on the outer corner of the eye, and then I'll build a little bit of that dimension on the inner corner of the eye, and then I'll go ahead and add a shimmer down the middle. Now, if you have mature skin or you have maybe hooded eyelids, you don't have to use a shimmer. You can always do this with like a lighter matte shade, and it'll give the same like spotlight effect. So it's really, really pretty. Maybe I'll create one of those, just an all matte halo look in one of these videos. But yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the type of brushes that I use real quick. For doing my transition shade or my first color that I'm just laying on the crease, I like to use a really, really big fluffy brush. The fluffier the brush, the more blown out and the easier it is to blend. That's been my experience and in my opinion. And it allows me to be messy and work quickly. I do not like to spend a lot of time on eyeshadow because it can become tedious. So after years of practice, I figured out what works for me and how I like to get it done so that it's quick and it's easy and it still looks good to me. So yeah, after I get my crease shade laid, then I start building around it. Right now I'm using a smaller shader brush, and that's what I'm going to use to kind of lay and blend and fluff out the edges of this dark color. I'm going to use that same brush for the inner and outer. I always use a shader for outer and inner. And then for my shimmer shade, when we get there, I use a sticky base. So whatever, that's optional, whatever you want to use for that, I will put in the description box the product that I use, and then you can either tap with your finger, tap into your shimmer, tap it through the middle, or as you see, I use a brush. I don't know what type of brush that is. I got that brush in an Ipsy bag years ago, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. I asked one of my friends, what is this and what am I supposed to do with this? And she simply said, oh, that's for shimmer, it's for like glitter. I was like, oh, okay, great. And that's what I use it for. Okay. You see it, it's red and black when I get to that point. But yeah, and then you'll see I'll go ahead and use a liner brush to create my wing. I used to be a liquid liner girly. Like the way that I mastered the flick of a liquid liner, then I started to get into false lashes. Now we're lash clusters, and I don't know if it's because my eyes are small or I can't see that well. It's one of the two. I struggle with doing the wings because a lot of time my lashes are on already. So I've learned how to create a wing with eyeshadow and an angled brush, and that's how I do my wing now. It still gives the same effect. I do like to blend the top of that line to kind of have it melt into the look of the eyeshadow. So it's worked out for me, and it's aged very well for me. Now the step that I'm doing right now is super important because what I'm doing is I'm taking a lighter shade and I'm just softly buffing the edges of the transition and the shade that I use, that darker shade that I use to create dimension, because this will help with blending so that there are no harsh lines in the shadow as it melts into just below the brow. Now this is where I'm applying the sticky base. I'm using the Makeup by Mario, one of his gel highlighters. I don't know the exact name. Again, it'll be down in the description box. But I don't put a lot of that because you can start to get cracking or like crinkling in the shadows on the lids. So you want to be very light with that and kind of tap with your finger to remove some of that excess product on there so that it does not make your shimmer shade like crease or crumble. It's just there for it to stick and kind of decrease the amount of fallout, if any, because not all shimmer shades have fallout, okay? But it's just a preference of mine how I like to apply my shimmer shades. And there's the brush that I don't know the name of, but I use it to apply my shimmers when I wear shimmers, because I don't really wear shimmers that often anymore. On my like day-to-day, every day, I'm kind of like a brown in the crease, you know, cute liner with shadow, of course, and then I'll do my base makeup, you know, do a neutral lip or a nude lip and walk out the door, okay? But for the sake of content, it still gives me a reason and an opportunity to do more glamorous looks, more glitter and shimmer fun looks like that. So thank you for hanging out with me and spending time with me and watching me play in makeup. I just really appreciate it. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking a shade that is similar to the shade that I use for depth. It's a little bit lighter though. It's kind of like a grayer shade, and what I'm doing is I am blending that in between where the dark shade and the shimmer shade meet. This way it creates like a smooth transition. Okay, I am using the Huda Beauty Empowered palette to create this look. It'll be in the description box. Now, it may look like I'm applying a lot of concealer, but I use concealer more for coverage because I don't use a lot of foundation. I only use foundation in the spots and areas of my face that are left after I've applied everything else. Foundation is like the last liquid or cream thing that I add. I do concealer, I do my contour or bronzer, if you want to call it that. I do my cream blush. I do all of that before I ever touch or add foundation to my face. And so this is why I use so much concealer, because I use concealer to cover my nose, my top lip, around my mouth, in between my eyebrows, to kind of soften the sharpness of the inner parts of my eyebrows. And then I use my foundation kind of to blend and melt everything together, so it's a very, very light coverage and light layer of that foundation. So this is why I use so much concealer, because I use concealer pretty much as my foundation, rather than starting with foundation and then layering on top of that, which creates, in my opinion, an almost heavy look, and I'm not going for that right now. I'm just not going for a heavy look. Also, I am taking into consideration the changes in my skin. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I'm on the end of my 30s, headed to 40. Hey now. So I am being mindful of the changes of my skin. I am learning and understanding that the way that I do my makeup is going to have to evolve with time, with the changes of my skin. So less is more for me. I've always been a less is more girl. So I think that transition, and I'm just noticing and paying attention to how my skin is changing, should be a pretty easy transition for me, and it's something that I do look forward to. But if you look now, I'm barely getting to foundation right now. And I'm just making sure everything is melted together and laying nicely. That's it. That's all the foundation I'm going to use. Okay, and I'm applying it with a sponge at that. So the sponge is taking the excess foundation off with me. So yeah. Okay, cream blush is probably one of my favorite things to apply to my face because it's just so pretty. It's so pretty, and then it lasts all day. After you've powdered and laid everything down and your makeup is worn off, your face still looks so pretty and the blush is still so vibrant throughout the day because you've applied a cream product underneath. So when the powder wears off, baby, the blush is still blushing. Okay? Look at me drinking my juice. I'm proud of me. Okay? Are you juicing? Do you juice? Let me know in the comments. Okay, now this is my brightening concealer. I just like to do it a little bit under the eye and down the sides of my nose as a highlight, and kind of bring the focus and attention to the center of my face, because that's how I like it to look. Okay, now I like to go in with a small brush to help blend and spread it out and kind of clean it up where it meets the eyeshadow, but I do follow up and go in with a sponge afterwards, again, because I don't want any excess product staying there and caking and laying and causing more creasing under my eye, or accentuating any of the larger pores that I'm starting to see on my face with age. Okay, and that's okay, because I'm gonna slay. As long as God allows me to be on this earth, I'm going to slay. As long as I have the capability to do so, MJ is going to slay. Just like my granny. Shout out to my grandma. Okay, my grandma will still put it on. Okay, in her 80s, she will still sit down and put it on. And I love her for that. Okay, hair done. Okay, nails painted. Okay, makeup on. Okay, dressed to the T. Okay, you go, girl. I love you. I want to be just like her. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my sponge and just making sure everything is blended and melted how I want it before I start to apply my powder. Because baby, once you put the powder, it's set. Okay, you don't want to have to go backwards. You don't want to have to go backwards. Okay. Now I'm applying my various powders. I do a pressed powder under the eye, then I do a loose setting powder down the bridge of my nose and on my smile lines, and then I do setting powder all over the face to set the entire face. And then I start kind of reinforcing the items that I didn't cream. So that's going to be reinforcing my bronzer with the powder bronzer. It's going to be reinforcing my blush with the powder blush. And then my highlight, I really like a softer highlight. I don't like it to blink. I just like it to look soft and natural. So I use a lighter hand than I used to, and I lightly apply it. I don't do a cream underneath it or anything. I just do a light powder dust and let it wear off throughout the day, because I just like for it to really show when the sun hits my face or at certain angles. Finishing up the eyes, as you can see here, I kind of sharpened up the bottom of that wing with the pressed powder and a sponge, and then I'm working on this lower lash line. Let me just tell you, I am so proud of myself, because the way that my lower lash line used to not want to let me be great, and I used to cry through the whole process. I hated it, but I practiced and I kept with it, and baby, I can slay an under eye shadow now. I'm just so proud of myself. You got to celebrate the small victories. Okay, celebrate your small victories, because it is so important. Now listen, my inner corner highlight has me in a chokehold, and has had me in a chokehold for several years. I'm never going to stop doing an inner corner highlight until the skin on my eyelid tells me, no ma'am, no ham. I'm going to do an inner color highlight. There's something about that little razzle dazzle twinkle in between at the center of the eye that does something for me. I don't know if it's the shape of my eye or what, but it does it for me. Okay. Now for this lip, I wanted to do a nice soft cool tone lip, so that's what I did. I went in with a nice chocolate cool tone brown lip liner. I'm gonna top that with a nice cool tone lipstick. I think it's Muted by Juvia's Place, and then I topped it with a cool toned lip gloss, Uncensored by Artist Couture. Yeah, because when he had that sale, I went in there and snatched up all that stuff. So I'm using my products and I love them so much. The details for all this stuff will be done in the description box. I struggled with my lips for such a long time because they have been wrinkled my whole life and they weren't very smooth, and they're big lips, which I had to learn to love. My mom also has really big lips, and she would tell me, you have to paint them. It's, you know, it's like a canvas. It's like art. You paint them and you make them beautiful. So thank you, Mama, for teaching me to love myself and to love my features just the way they are, and for always making me feel beautiful. Give it up for the lip combo, baby. The lips are lipping. The face is facing. The slay is slaying. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I love you, and I catch you in the next one. Follow me on all socials at MJ Daily Slay and subscribe to my Patreon. Bye bye.